Yeah, whoa. Hey everyone, Dope Thinny Rhymes Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this Lupe Fiasco album, Samurai. Yep, here we have a brand new LP from rapper and lyricist and songwriter extraordinaire, Lupe Fiasco. Truly a veteran of the hip-hop game at this point. He's really a dying breed kind of rap artist who reminds you of the level of pen game you used to hear on a regular basis during the genre's golden age. And if you remember the last we heard from Lupe, it was a couple of years ago with his record Drill Music in Zion, which was a witty and conceptual commentary on rap music, the art and culture that surrounds it, and also the ways in which violence can sometimes be intertwined with it, obviously in sort of a negative and destructive capacity, specifically when it comes to his home city of Chicago. And on this new project over here, of course, we are getting pretty meta once again, with a lot of the songs on this record focusing on hip-hop, on the art of rapping, on the creativity surrounding the craft. But in order to go down this road, Lupe is using a really interesting reference point as a source of inspiration. Apparently this 2015 documentary about Amy Winehouse that features a quote of her talking about lyrics that she had been writing at the time that she described to be battle rap style, saying she's essentially becoming a lyrical samurai as a result of this. And again, using this as a point of inspiration, Lupe Fiasco essentially kind of writes the quote-unquote story of Amy Winehouse becoming a rapper's rapper in a way, with parallels to like the battle side of the craft. And from what I've also read about this record, it was also originally intended to just be a single song with one of Lupe's longtime producer associates soundtrack, and then it just kind of extended into this multi-cut experience that spans 30 minutes in length, which lengthwise by no means is anywhere near Lupe's more grandiose and ambitious album statements over the years, but it's still enough material to kind of explore this loose idea from multiple angles, enough so that you get a pretty clear idea of like what the central themes and feelings and motivators behind this record are. I will also try to give a heads up here and say, if you're going into this record expecting some kind of like super clear, linear hero's tale of Amy Winehouse becoming the greatest battle rapper of all time, you will be sorely disappointed, because again, it's not so much a super point A, point B type tale. It's more of, you know, Lupe taking a thing, an idea, as a point of inspiration and then using that as a vehicle to explore feelings and ideas and emotions that for years he's most likely had on hip-hop and his involvement in it, and the process of sort of being a creator in that field. Take the opening title track, for example, which is just a great tone setter for the album. It has this smooth, ultra-melodic chorus, jazzy background instrumentation, and vivid imagery coming off the lyrics, which essentially paint a character portrait of this girl who is an artist trying to make her way. And we get a more in-depth look at this person on the following track, Mumble Rap, which has this very eerie, cartoonish beat, flows on top of that from Lupe that are very much giving A Tribe Called Quest vibes. And across this song, Lupe is like bringing us back to that Food and Liquor, that kick push era where he is telling us about somebody who is focused on a thing they're passionate about, advancing at it, getting better at it, as he is, again, painting a picture of this girl, of this woman who is obsessing over becoming a rapper, becoming a lyricist. Everything she's doing and experiencing is like coming together in her head like rhymes, with, again, some allusions to there being like a battle rap context to all of this. Meanwhile, the following song, Cake, is a lot of the same, but there's more of a competitive spirit to this one, with Lupe making note of the person who he is rapping from the standpoint of having won things, but this one takes the cake, which makes sense given just how great the rapping and the writing is on this track. The flows, the rhythmic patterns, the internal rhymes are just nuts. There are numerous standout bars and gems and bits of wordplay throughout this song. One that stuck out to me was, well, did she do it or didn't she? Who are you mentioning? Luel duel, a dual identity, dueling enemies. Do it to him, chewing through him without doing it dentally. I did not fully do that justice, and I'm actually surprised that I read that through first try. But yeah, through all the highs and lows of his career at this point, it is very clear that Lupe is operating at a different level than just most rappers are, point blank period. The ones who came not just after him, but before him too. Following this, I am not as crazy about the start-stop verses on Palaces, but I do think this is a very poignant and interesting track on the sanctity of the creative process and maintaining your authenticity in the midst of that, as your creations can sometimes become sullied and compromised by insecurities, by materialism, by human error. And toward the end of the track, Lupe thematically circles back around to essentially remind himself to rap and write and create from the heart. There's a great beat switch and flow switch on the back end of the track too that I think picks things up quite nicely. Number one, Headband, is yet another devotion to rap anthem with some classy horns, some jazzy chords, and lots of witty and playful rhymes that are super sharp despite clearly not taking themselves too seriously. Lupe really just like nails that balance of just a deep thought but simultaneously lightheartedness that was the mark of a lot of the classic and amazing albums of that 90s jazz rap era. Following this, things on the record get a bit moodier and get a bit darker with the song Bigfoot, which is very much a meditation on the fame, the crowd, or really the lack thereof, and how self-conscious and insecure an artist can get when they're not getting like that outside validation, when they're not getting that big break they were hoping for, even though they feel they deserve it due to their talents, due to their efforts. The track is really about the kinds of fears that may plague the artist's mind, and the melancholic keys that are all over the song are just the perfect soundtrack for it. Following this, the record gets even more somber on Outside, which is yet another internal struggle on the album, very much a commentary on rapping and creativity again, and in a way sort of what makes for something that's good, something that's bad, what makes something popular. It's kind of interesting because even as an artist who's arguably made really great records and has been doing what he does for years, even Lupe doesn't seem to have all the answers, or maybe even any of the answers. You know, between miscommunications described on the track, a weird attraction to whack bars, and this desire for superiority that ends up becoming almost like a downside at the end of the day. It sort of feels like Lupe, through his own thoughts and experiences, but also the character that he's created here, because obviously whatever idea he has of Amy Winehouse doing or saying any of these things is just like a version of her that he has made up in his head. But yeah, I guess you could say, like, if this song is trying to relay anything, it's that art and creativity is not something that you do in order to necessarily like discover hard, concrete answers about things. Often you will end up with more questions. And I feel like in a way, Till Eternity, the closing track on this record, is a sort of tragic, inconclusive finish where Lupe sort of begins to come to terms with that fact, as thematically the song is very much about kind of giving your life to a talent, a skill, a pursuit, pretty much in the same way that a samurai would give up their life to do what they do. But again, despite all of this effort, despite all of this focus, Lupe seems to be at this point where he still has like a lot of questions and a lot of worries and a lot of concerns. And the song kicks off with him essentially saying, like, you know, this is all just like a part of the game. And it sort of seems like, again, he's coming to terms and he's kind of accepting that it's really about the process, and he's passionate about the process and happy to continue engaging with it, even if some of these, like, you know, big picture answers or payoffs or whatever, like, you know, didn't come at this point or maybe never come ever. But yeah, again, I know there was a lot of talk in the lead up to this record about the Amy Winehouse thing and that point of inspiration. And I'm not discounting that or like saying that you know, this album isn't inspired by Amy Winehouse or anything like that, but like when you dig past that idea and that concept and like that surface level PR press release framing, what you really get is like a guy who is really analyzing like his own process and his own sort of like creative journey up until this point, which of course, given that the artist in question is somebody who is as talented and as successful and as important and as influential as Lupe Fiasco, like it still makes the story compelling. I mean, there were some points where I do wish that the storytelling and the narratives and the takeaways on these tracks were a bit clearer, a bit more laid out, a bit more point A, point B. On that end, I feel like the record could have been just a tad bit more ambitious, and as an overall piece, I can't really ignore the fact that this album, it is a little scant, even if it does pretty much work in everything you need and nothing you don't sort of way at the end of the day. But yeah, there are way more bops than flops on this thing, even if I was left wanting just a little bit more. And yeah, I came away from this album pretty much feeling a light 8 on it. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like, please subscribe, and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you could check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Lupe Fiasco, forever.